Donald Trump is panicking that his grandiose ballroom construction visions are about to be halted by a federal judge and perhaps blocked indefinitely. And Donald Trump has rushed to court to tell the federal judge, if you block my ballroom, you will be imperiling my life. You will also be imperiling the national security of the United States of America. I can't tell you why in public, but I'll submit a classified declaration that there are things happening underneath the ballroom area that we need to continue to build. And that's why you will be harming my life. You will be harming the Secret Service, and Judge, you will be harming the national security if you don't let me build my gigantic 100,000 square foot ballroom after demolishing the East Wing. I kid you not, folks. This is what Donald Trump is now telling a federal judge. Just a reminder, the National Trust for Historic Preservation in the United States filed a lawsuit against the Trump regime to block the construction of the ballroom. Unfortunately, the lawsuit was not filed before the East Wing of the White House was demolished, but it was filed in time to block the construction of the ballroom, and it was assigned to a federal judge in Washington, D.C. The lawsuit was the judge's Judge Leon, and during the hearings that we've been following, Judge Leon has seemed to indicate that he's getting ready to issue a preliminary injunction to block further construction of the ballroom, which is making Donald Trump cry and get very upset and get very panicked. So Trump did something I've never seen in my entire career as a lawyer. Trump requested that the federal judge stay the order blocking the construction of the East Wing ballroom before the judge even ruled. So federal Judge Leon in Washington, D.C. has not even ruled yet that Trump loses and that the ballroom gets blocked. But before the federal judge even made the ruling, this is how Donald Trump thinks he's going to lose. Donald Trump said, please, judge, in the event you make the bad ruling against Trump, which I think is a great ruling, blocking the construction of the ballroom, judge, you need to immediately stay your ruling, pause it, because you may kill the president. You may imperil the president's life and harm the Secret Service, and you may destroy national security if you don't stay your order after you rule against Donald Trump. So what happened thereafter is the National Trust for Historic Preservation in the United States, the group that's suing Donald Trump and suing the National Park Service, they then file what's called a motion to strike and say, you can't request relief when the judge hasn't even made the order yet blocking the construction of the East Wing ballroom. You have to wait, Donald, until the judge makes the ruling. Then once you lose, if you want to request a stay, then you can do that. But what Trump is trying to do with the stay is to block the judge's ruling, blocking the construction of the ballroom so that Trump can then do the illegal thing, build the ballroom, claiming that's what the status quo is, and then hope the Supreme Court uses its shadow docket eventually to basically say, oh, well, now you get to continue to build the East Wing while the status quo is preserved because we will stay the district court's ruling so you can keep on building, as the Supreme Court's used that shadow docket power before. So let me just go through with you what's being said. Let me just go to that line so you can see what I'm talking about, what Donald Trump is arguing. Donald Trump goes, as the Secret Service has attested, halting construction of the ballroom would imperil the president and others who live and work in the White House. The current open construction site is, in and of itself, a hazard and complicates Secret Service operations. So Trump is saying that the construction site that he created by demolishing the East Wing to replace it with a ballroom is itself a hazard complicating the Secret Service operations. And if he doesn't get to build his ballroom, it imperils his life. Folks, I want to read these words for you so you can see what an actual sociopath he is. Then Donald Trump says there are additional reasons described in detail in a supplemental classified declaration that halting construction will endanger national security and therefore impair the public interest. While plaintiff has suggested that the court could allow construction that is necessary for national security to continue, it is unworkable to distinguish between construction elements that are national security related and those that are not. Pause there. So doesn't that raise some additional issues? So now we have, according to you, Donald, private individuals, the Epstein class billionaires and corporations who are funding this ballroom. You're saying they're funding things that are so inextricably intertwined with our national security interests. So you've now delegated national security, because didn't you say that it's all these private companies and your Epstein class oligarch friends who are going to be building this ballroom? Or is it actually we, the people, who are paying for it, because what you're trying to hide from the public is what the MeidasTouch network actually reported on several months back? And people were like, oh, Ben, you're a conspiracy theorist. Oh, why are you saying all these things? Remember, I said one of the big issues here, I said they're building a secret bunker underneath the East Wing. Now, it was an easy prediction because there's already a bunker. So we know that there is a bunker underneath that was built 60, 70 years ago during World War II in order to withstand a nuclear strike. But it's kind of outdated. You know, one of the things that I thought they were going to be doing there is building data centers, building top-of-the-line bunkers. And just think about the people who were obsessed with bunkers. Hitler was obsessed. Authoritarians get obsessed with building themselves bunkers for when they're overthrown and toppled, right? And in Hitler's ballroom, underneath, guess what there was? A huge bunker. So I'm like, they're going to be freaking building this bunker. That's one of the main reasons. And then the ballroom is part of Donald Trump's quid pro quo mafia shakedown, but it's really about that. But anyway, here's Trump saying that in the declaration.
Knockoffs might look the same at first, but we all know they never hold up. Leaf Filter isn't just another gutter guard. It's a trusted name that's built to last, with years of relentless engineering behind it. Don't settle for a knockoff. Protect your home with Leaf Filter and save up to 30% off your entire purchase at leaffilter.com/Meidas. Now, I have to tell you, it is so convenient never having to worry about my gutters at all now. Not only is Leaf Filter amazing at what they do, but it gives me so much more time now to enjoy my outdoor space instead of worrying about my gutters. An investment in Leaf Filter is an investment engineered to protect your whole home. Clogged gutters aren't just annoying, they can cause extensive water damage. Leaf Filter is your permanent solution to clogged gutters. Every installation comes with a lifetime clog-free guarantee. With more than 50 design and engineering patents, Leaf Filter is trusted by over 1 million homes. From drizzles to downpours, Leaf Filter is engineered to protect in every condition. Let Leaf Filter's trusted pro handle it. Call today to schedule your free gutter inspection and get a no-obligation free estimate. A Leaf Filter trusted pro will clean out, realign, and seal your gutters before installing Leaf Filter. Engineering, reliability, and performance. That's what makes Leaf Filters America's #1 gutter protection system. Start protecting your home today with Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system. Schedule your free inspection at leaffilter.com/Meidas. That's up to 35% off at leaffilter.com/Meidas. Disclaimer, see representative for warranty details.
And they go on to say, defendants are lodging in support of this motion a second supplemental classified declaration that further explains why that is so. And the why that is so part is that you can't stop this construction because it impacts national security classified information, and it would otherwise still imperil Donald Trump's life. That's what they're arguing here. Defendants are lodging in support that declaration. Put simply, completion of the project in a timely fashion is imperative for reasons of national security. Then they go on to make other arguments. Any injunction would exacerbate rather than redress the National Trust's own stated aesthetic interest. Halting construction would prolong a gross imbalance between the West Wing and the former East Wing and leave an unsightly excavation site in President's Park indefinitely. That is contrary to plaintiffs' interest and the public interest, especially when one considers that the below ground work on waterproofing, security improvements, and utility infrastructure will have to take place at some point, regardless of what the structure is ultimately erected above ground. So Trump's arguing, I destroyed the East Wing, I ruined it, I reduced it to rubble, and now that it's so unseemly, if you're arguing that my ballroom is unseemly, isn't the rubble more unseemly than my ballroom to begin with? That again is the argument of a freaking sociopath right here. But Trump goes on and says, more generally, continued progress on the project advances the public interest. Says who? The new East Wing's expanded capacity for receiving foreign dignitaries and visitors will substantially benefit the president, the executive office, other governmental offices and agencies with a White House presence, and the American people. The past practice of pitching temporary tents on the South Lawn was costly and cumbersome, did not comport with the dignity due to the White House, and caused substantial damage to NPS. The dignity? You're a sexual predator covering up a child sex trafficking ring. Don't lecture us on dignity. You're covering up the Epstein files. In the unredacted files, you're in them over 1 million times. In the redacted files, you're in there over 38,000 times. So we don't need to be lectured by you about the dignity. The dignity? You've reduced the presidency to the rubble. The rubble that we see out there right now on the East Wing is a manifestation of what you've done to our country. By the way, you know, Donald Trump, to the public, he doesn't want you to read these court filings. That's why I'm reading it to you. What he wants to show you are posts like this. 2 views of the great ballroom being built on the site of our wonderful White House. It is on budget, ahead of schedule. When completed, it will be the finest ballroom ever built anywhere in the world. One that has been sought by presidents for over 100. No one is seeking this. Presidents are seeking to represent we the people, not stupid ballrooms where you're shaking down your right-wing Epstein-class oligarch friends. And now they are getting the best. Because of this unprecedented structural safety and security features, it will also be used for future presidential inaugurations. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Here's what it looks like, just so you can see. Here's what it looks like. And that is exactly what the Trump regime presidency looks like. So the National Trust for Historic Preservation in the United States, they respond to this request by the Trump regime to get a preliminary injunction stopping the judge's order, blocking the construction. So Trump wants to continue the construction. He wants the judge to rule against the judge before the judge makes the ruling blocking the construction. Do you get what I'm saying? And so the response from the National Trust for Historic Preservation, they respond to Trump's filing and they say, the National Trust for Historic Preservation moves for an order striking the defendant's motion for a stay of a preliminary injunction that's not yet even been entered in this case, pending a theoretical forthcoming appeal that the defendant state they intend to take to the DC Circuit. Taken as styled, the defendant's motion for a stay of a not yet existing order pending a not yet existing appeal is premature and speculative. And then it goes on to say, taken for what it actually is, it's an unauthorized and belated surreply attempting to re-argue the merits weeks after briefings closed. So what they're saying there is that what the Trump regime now is trying to do is sneak in another declaration from a classified source about why, if the judge blocks the construction of the ballroom, it will imperil our national security. That declaration was not submitted with the initial filing. And so because now the Trump regime wants to further try to extort and shake down the court and say, if you rule against me, judge, you're going to be harming the national security. And Article 2 Article 2 says the president's in charge of national security. I need to build a ballroom for national security. I just want you all to think about that. While you and Americans are being psychologically tortured, living paycheck to paycheck if you're lucky enough to get a paycheck, struggling to pay rent if you're lucky enough to afford rent, while you're getting your healthcare ripped away as we're in a massive jobs recession right now, as the American people are getting screwed over by the Epstein class, as the Trump regime is covering up a child sex trafficking ring, while all of that is taking place and more, they're saying that if he can't build his ballroom, his life is going to be so sad and our national security is going to be impacted. And look how ugly it looks right now. And don't we want the aesthetic to look far more beautiful? How pathetic. And these are exactly the arguments that the Epstein class would make. They're predators, and they think we're stupid. That's what they think. That's what they're doing by their actions. They want the judge to issue a stay of the judge's order, blocking construction of the ballroom before the judge even makes the order. I read it for you right there. It's all right. I read you the words. So there's no doubt that that's actually what the Trump regime is arguing. Okay? Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. And thanks everybody for watching.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.